I told you that I worked for Brook Bonds in my first 10 years, right? So, when I was working there, with the exception of Egypt and a few Middle Eastern countries where we had factories going, everything else that we bought in the auction went in the form of bulk to Britain or to their other packing destinations, Canada, UK, USA. We shipped few finished products. I can remember rickshaw brand to Hong Kong from here, but majority, I would say 85% went in bulk, so went in commodity. Majority of us exporters here, including the big exporters that do packs now, were bulk exporters. You couldn't survive without being a bulk exporter where you sold the commodity. When I started also, about 60% of my product went in bulk. I sold to Canada, I sold to UK, I sold to some of the Middle East countries, then Taiwan, all around. It all went in bulk. But during the time I was working for Brook Bonds, I was sent for training to UK, and there you see every ounce that goes from here being blended and packed into something, and it goes from UK all the way to Japan, all the way to Australia, right? They took it there, blended, packed and shipped. So I used to always think, why can't we do that here? And we are in a central place where we can ship to the west or to the east at a much lower cost, because freight charges will be much lower. Once you pack the tea, freight costs go right up because you're having a lot of air in the product, or the gap, the product becomes bigger. So when I started, I was totally concentrating on trying to get a finished product. Then I made my own brand, and I said I'll try never to co-pack for somebody. Like, I wouldn't want to pack the brand name of another company, because then what happens is they are never faithful to you. A bulk buyer is never faithful. If tomorrow somebody else comes and gives you the same service at a much lower cost, you're naturally bent on going with the other guy, where they want to make a higher profit. So I thought I will do my own brand, my own product. And when I started with the brand name Mlesna, my name reversed backwards, so nobody can take the brand. And I started doing different types of packs, as sophisticated as possible, using resources that were available at that time. Our printing industry was not so good. Our screen printing for making these fancy boxes and things were not so good, and we had to make do with whatever we had. And when I started, I managed to get a few orders from overseas. This, I'm talking in 1983, right? My Japanese buyer, one of my Japanese buyers, gave me the first tea bagging order, and I didn't have tea bagging machines. Then I was having a buyer in Sweden, agent in Sweden, who wanted only for the different department stores, their brands. There, if I refused and tried to sell my own brand, I wouldn't have succeeded. So I decided to pack tea bags with all these other companies. And I used to pack at Dilma, I used to pack at Carson's, and that time Bowers had packing machines. Used to pack there. In these 3 different places, I packed all my tea bagging orders. I didn't have a single tea bagging machine, but we packed some of ours and some of these brands. And at one time, I was the biggest supplier of tea bags to Sweden. There were different departments: Tempo, Lanes, Martin Olsen, Arvin Nordquist, then Cooperative. These 4 big department stores all bought tea bags from me. And we used to have, say, for a month, during that time when I was small, at least 4 or 5 containers of tea bags going. So it was a pleasurable business. Then after about 5 years, Twinings came and offered this entire market at a much lower price, tea bags, same tea bags. And I got wiped out in the 6th year. I couldn't meet that price. Then we started selling our brand through this friend of mine. He's got a tea shop called EWC Scandinavia, and he opened a beautiful tea shop in Gothenburg. It still runs. He died recently. His son runs the business now, and he sells very exclusive specialty teas in Sweden. Sweden is a small market. That time the population was only 8 million, 6 million adults and 2 million kids. So the volumes were small, but very good prices, very good teas. That was one market. Then we sold to UK, we sold in Europe a little bit, Japan. But as far as possible, I sold my own product. And in gift areas, souvenir areas, with our brand, we packed for that specific area. Like if you take Shakespeare's home, we packed wood boxes for Shakespeare's home. Then if you take the lighthouses in Canada, we packed special lighthouse teas for all the lighthouses. Like that, you do a lot of specialty. I used to do a lot of specialty gift items for the different markets. Buckingham Palace blend, London Bridge blend, where those items were sold in all the gift shops in the area. Niche, not very big quantities, but prices were better, where you could sell at a higher price rather than sell tea bags in the supermarket. So these things gave a lot of push to our brand. People saw this, they tasted it because it was a gift, and then when they saw it was okay, they used to come and buy the normal tea bags. This we did for Japanese market, the Singaporean. I still do it very heavily for the Singaporean market. Different destinations, tour destinations, they buy. And of course, we have gone into the normal range. Because of the difficulties I found in selling branded products, I decided to open a tea shop here. That's how I started my first store at Liberty Plaza. And then went into 2, and then now I've gone into 16 different shops in Sri Lanka, selling only our product in a wider base, mainly targeting the tourists. But when the war was on here, when we didn't have so many tourists, we depended on about 60% Sri Lankans. Tourism was at a very low level at that time. For all the Sri Lankans who used to travel, plus those who wanted to give gifts, and the corporate gift sector bought stuff. And from that, you slowly develop your brand to I believe in selling at the high end only. But there is absolutely no pleasure in trying to sell a very low end product. The low end product is available everywhere. Everybody competes in it, and the only way they compete in is by lowering the price some more. So what's the point? There is no point in making, you can't make money in that business. It's better to sell a very high-end product, limited in volume, at a decent profit, and people who buy it and consume it, enjoy it. And then you get very good reviews, and that gives you a lot of satisfaction. When people say the blend is good and they have enjoyed it and they can't do without it. We have lots of customers saying that they can't do without this blend. So then you feel really nice. And then today you get all these internet reviews from different clients that come. So for the outstation shops, I have that TripAdvisor status and so on. And when you see the comments, you feel nice. I wouldn't have seen more than 5 bad comments. Sometimes every customer is not satisfied. No? You might have a staff member annoying them. So then they go back and write bad things. Or like now, they could make the tea bad. Now that plain tea, how did you find this? Different, yeah. They made the tea bad. However much you train them, sometimes they will do a slipshod job. Attitude of our people. So if that happens to a customer, you're done. And they don't realize it. And you need only one person bad mouthing it, 1,000 people will see it. Whereas if 10 people say good things, only 100 people might see. It's normal. So the shops have given us a lot of boost. My own tea shops here, then we have started the same concept overseas, Japan, Australia, some Eastern European countries, right around Latvia, Ukraine, Poland, all over we have tea shops. Those have given in Greece we have. Those have given us a lot of popularity. And it's a pleasure to hear the comments of the people who buy that. Most of us do that now. I mean, a lot of the other brands do it. They have tea lounges, tea shops that service the people, and that gives you a good boost. Old days, Sri Lankan exporters never thought of that. We didn't, hardly anybody had tea shops. When I started, Tea Tank had a tea shop in their office in Baradana, I can remember. Nobody had tea shops anywhere else. And now, of course, a lot of them have. During the war, people were not bold enough to open shops also. So during the war, I had 15 tea shops. And sometimes some shops really suffer. So, but overall, if you are making okay, you can manage the staff and sustain. That time, when one bomb goes, for a week you are done. All the shops go down, including the hotels. But then it slowly improved, and now, of course, thank God, since there's no war, tourism have improved. But standard of tourism in the last 2 years have dropped. Before that, the quality of people that came were better. I suppose probably sometime because what the tour guides do also, tour guides take too much commission in all these places, must be upsetting the people. So they probably don't want to buy when they go out. You don't come here on a buying spree, you're coming here for tourism, no? But then you get tempted to buy something that you don't have, and then that gives us the boost on all the tourist shops. But overall, the tea business with the tourists have been okay.